Now, for more on the Federal Reserve's decision, I'm joined by William Mahnic. He's an associate professor at the Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rachelle.
Now, given the recent U.S. economic weakness, how does this reflect whether the Fed will still raise interest rates in the near future?
I think the Fed was very, very careful to, in its FOMC minutes and in Janet Yellen's press conference, to say that they're looking not at day-to-day or transitionary type of events in the market that are going to push the markets up or down, that they're looking at more of a long-term path. And I think that's what they really emphasize. They are on a path to normalization. They want to get those 2 more rate hikes in this year and pursue 3 more next year.
So as they take that longer view then, does that mean that this latest soft economic data is more of a blip, or do you expect the economy to kind of rebound and really continue its trajectory of growth?
I think they view this as definitely a blip. They believe the fundamentals in the United States economy are very, very strong. They believe there's resilience there, that the economy can absorb a few more rate hikes this year and still hit that 3 to 3.5% growth rate that they're looking for by the fourth quarter of 2017.
Now, you mentioned the strong fundamentals in the domestic economy. What about the global economy? Is there anything, either domestically or globally, that you foresee happening that could potentially make the Fed really hold off on raising interest rates?
Well, we always had the geopolitical situation. On the military side, if something would heat up in the Ukraine or Syria or somewhere else in the world, North Korea, that could cause a problem. Economically, there's still, some concern over the French election. Brexit's going to be a very long and painful process, but I really don't see anything out there that's going to, on a global basis, that's really going to force the Fed to back off of its current plan to continue to increase rates.
Now, one thing that certainly caused some headlines is this dynamic between Fed Chair Yellen and President Trump. Now, Yellen has been mostly tight-lipped. You also have Trump, who seems to have really softened his criticism of her compared to when he was on the campaign trail. How is their relationship either improving or worsening?
I think President Trump has a lot more respect for the challenges that Chairman Yellen faces. His first 100 days has given him a better appreciation for the role that the Fed plays. And I think he's pretty much changed his opinion. I think he's not as anti-Yellen as he used to be. I think he's more of a let's see what they do this year type of attitude. The one thing I wish President Trump and the Senate would do, though, is fill those 3 empty chairs that we have on the Fed board. Right now we have 4 people rowing a boat that's meant to be rowed by 7.
And how much do you think that could influence then what happens going forward?
I've got to believe that new members aren't going to really try to impress their philosophy or their outlook immediately. So I wouldn't see a big impact for 2017. I think it would have a much more bigger impact in 2018. According to the Fed playbook, if they are successful in completing these rate hikes, I think 2018 is the year when they're really going to take a hard look at unwinding that $4.5 trillion balance sheet. That's where those new players will really have an impact. How fast and how much do we want to unwind that $4.5 trillion balance sheet?
Now, I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball here. I know we've seen some inconsistencies when it comes to Trump policies, but we also have the Fed. Who has more influence on the economy in the long run?
I'd have to say that the U.S. Treasury does. Tax policy, regulatory has much more of an impact on the U.S. economy than the Fed does.
All right. Thank you very much, William Mahnic there, Associate Professor at the Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western University.